In that Bhagavatam chapter which I mentioned before, 82, there is one statement from Lord Krishna when he's addressing the gopis, verse 44. Mai bhaktir hi putanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yad asin matsneho bhavatinam madapa. The translation goes, rendering devotional service to me qualifies any living being for eternal life. But by your good fortune, you have developed a special loving attitude toward me, by which you have obtained me. So this is interesting. Just performing devotional service, um, it is said that Mukti Devi is like a maid servant. So liberation acts like a maid servant to the devotees, those who perform devotional service to Krishna. But Gopi's position is still more intimate. They have developed a loving attitude towards Krishna, and therefore they have attained Krishna. So that's that we can understand that that is the topmost position, and how can Krishna be uh, away from such a person who has developed such loving attitude towards Krishna? Just like yesterday, we had a wonderful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam where it was actually explained. It was about the story of Achamila when he was calling the Lord's name kind of unknowingly, meaning his child, and he was calling the name of Narayan. And then Lord Narayan sent his associates, Vishnu Dutas, to rescue Ajamila from the servants of Yamaraj. And there was a statement in the verse itself that Krishna thinks that even though a person might have committed so many sinful activities, but if he once called his name, uh, Krishna thinks that I cannot refuse such a person. I have to give him protection. So, what to speak of the attitude of the gopis when they have developed special loving attitude towards the Lord? So that's kind of we can understand that kind of representation is in Jagannath Rath Yatra. We are really pulling Krishna into our hearts by our loving devotional attitude. So we have many Rath Yatras happening in ISKCON all over the world. I've been in several of them. Just in the month of July, there were Rath Yatras in Prague, uh, Cologne, and Munich. And also, I know that there are lots of Rath Yatras being performed in England. There's a team of devotees who are actually in the summer season. They are performing 30 Rath Yatras in different cities in England. And the biggest Rath Yatra in ISKCON that I have ever participated is in Kolkata. Actually, in Kolkata, the Rath Yatra is so big that they are following the exact dates which are happening there in Puri. So Rath Yatra takes 8 days, and in Kolkata also they have Rath Yatra on the same day, and also the return Rath Yatra. So in Kolkata city, the Rath Yatra takes about maybe 5 hours, the procession, and I used to be in one of the trucks in front of the procession. we had a kirtan truck, so we were performing kirtan during the Ratha Yatra procession. And behind us, there was Balaram's cart. So the Balaram's cart is the first cart, and then comes Subhadra, and then Jagannath is in the last cart. But here in Finland, we have such a small scale Ratha Yatra, so we only have one cart. Like many of those smaller Rath Yatras, we have Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra in the same cart. So in Kolkata Rath Yatra, Balaram's cart, we heard that it's behind us, but we never saw Balaram because the Rath Yatra procession is so big. There are so many people in between our Kirtan truck and Balaram's cart. And Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, they are leaving from ISKCON Kolkata in which is near Minto Park, and then they are proceeding towards the park, which is end of Park Street. So that whole journey takes around 5 hours. And Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, they are put there in temporary altar. What was the building called? There's a wooden structure and covered with a cloth pandal. There's a pandal type of altar, temporary altar for Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, and the deities are kept there for 8 days. And every day there are lots of different programs and some vendors selling prasadam throughout those 8 days. There's a big temporary hall where the lectures and some cultural performances are held, and then there's an altar and different things going on. That's a big area. So that's Sisi Korita Ki Jai. And Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra are kept in that altar for 8 days. Then there's a return Rath Yatra, also on the same day as in Puri. So there's a big congregation in Kolkata, and they are able to. They are participating very nicely, and everybody on the street they can see the big procession. Lots of prasadam is given out to those who perceive the Rath Yatra. So we can try to develop our special loving attitude towards Lord Jagannath, Lord Krishna, on this special day. They have predicted little rain. Hopefully, it's a rain of mercy. Um, but nevertheless, we are doing our best. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions or comments, maybe somebody can elaborate something about Lord Jagannath, something special. I can end my class here.
Yeah. I read from your Facebook page of your ISKCON Finland that there was this history of a Christian monk going to Ratha Yatra in the 14th century. So, tell more about that story if you know.
Monk going to Jagannath Puri, you mean?
Yeah. Somebody wrote there was official post part of your Ratha Yatra event in Facebook. So this incident of monk going there.
Oh, does Gopal Krishna Prabhu know? Because I'm a little bit embarrassed. I didn't read that story,
Oh,
so I didn't. I wasn't the one who posted it. I would like to hear from that person. Maybe it was Kuruttama Prabhu who wrote about this story. But nevertheless, there's another story of how Lord Jagannath appeared in this world. It's a little bit long and quite detailed. So maybe I can try to paraphrase that one. Um, so there was one king Indradunya who was very anxious about getting a little bit above from the influence of material nature. I mean, he was a king in an opulent position, but he was spiritually very hungry. So he wanted to find a very suitable place where there are worship of the Supreme Lord going on. So he was announcing this his request all over, and somewhere he heard from some traveling mendicant that there's a place called Vidyanagara where the deity of Nila Madhava is worshipped. And King Indradyumna became very interested about this place, so he sent his foremost Brahmana, was it Vidyapati, his name? He sent Vidyapati forward to Vidyanagar to witness this place, and this place was kept by Shabara a race which are like pig herds. It doesn't sound very Vedic. Some lowly villagers, they are taking care of this place in Vidyanagar, and but they wanted to keep this place very secret, so nobody could enter this place. So Vidyapati, this Brahmana, had to marry the daughter of the king of this Sabara race, and then one day, the king of Sabaras, he agreed that Vidyapati can come to the place where Nilamadavaditi is. So Vidyapati was very clever. He asked his wife to give him a bag of mustard seeds because the Sabara king wanted to cover Vidyapati's eyes so that he is not able to see where he is going to the place of worship. So, but Vidyapati had a bag of mustard seeds, so he was dropping every now and then one seed of mustard so that it will eventually grow and he will able to trace his way to see the Nila Madhavaditi. And when the king and Vidyapati they arrived in this place, so they stayed a little bit behind, like behind a rock or something, uh, to see the place where Nilamadavaditi is, and Vidyapati was able to see. His eyes was uncovered now, and Vidyapati could see that the demigods were worshipping this Nilamadavaditi. So this is a very high class. Uh, uh, Opulent place for worshipping the Lord. So Vidyapati gets excited, and then, like Lord Brahma was doing arti, and the other demigods, they were assisting with all kinds of worship. So then demigods they left the place, and then Vidyapati and this Sabara king they were able to go and collect some remnants from the worship. And Vidyapati was in ecstasy. Then they bathed in a kund nearby, and it was also heavenly. And he understood why the Sabara king was desiring to keep this place very, very secret. So, and Vidyapati went back to see King Indradyumna, and he told about this place. And then King Indradyumna went there with his army. And of course, the Sabara king was lamenting that uh, to Vidyapati, now just see what you have done. Uh, why are you bringing this king here? He wants to take Nila Madhava away. And then they followed the path of those mustard plants, which were grown up, and they reached the place of worship. But Nilamadava deities, for their surprise, it was gone. It had disappeared. And that caused even more grief to the Sabara king and King Indradyumna also. Uh, and I don't remember all the details, what happened. Maybe there was like voice from the sky or something telling that, or maybe King Sabara king saw a dream that I've been taken care of by you for so many years now. Because I'm the Lord of the universe. Actually, I should be worshipped with opulence. So I should shift on in the care of this king. And then there are so many things I've actually forgotten. Lord Brahma, King Indradyumna gets to visit Lord Brahma also to his abode, and for just a couple of minutes, and and King Indradyumna is explaining that my relatives they are waiting for me in the planet Earth, so I must return and start worship of your deity, worship the deity of the Lord. But then Brahma just laughed that just a few minutes here, so many generations has passed, so you won't be able to see your relatives anymore in the planet Earth. But nevertheless, King Indradyumna returned and started worship of Lord Jagannath, which appeared in one big wooden log that was flowing down the river. And so they cut the wood for the original Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. Um, and he built a temple and brought those wooden logs inside the temple. And the architect of the demigods, he agreed to carve the deities. But the condition was that he was supposed to work alone for 21 days. And nobody should enter the temple, no matter what, for 21 days. But the king Indradyumna was so impatient that after 14th day, he heard that there was no sound coming out of the temple, no carving sound, nothing. So he was worried what's going on. So he wanted to rush inside the temple before the uh, deity making progress was finished. So, because he was breaking this condition, Vishwakarma had disappeared from the place and the deities were unfinished. So again, there was a lamentation from King Indradyumna that what have I done? Great mistake. And maybe he heard another voice from the sky or so in a dream that he got instructions how the deities were supposed to be painted. So finally, they got Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra for the first time there in the temple. And there are some interesting stories how, because the original deities are not there anymore, they are far gone. Because I think it's every 12 years they are changing the deities. And it happens something like what I've heard that there are lots of brahmanas taking care of those deities, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, and there should be like 30 brahmanas who see the same dream in the nighttime, where to find the new uh, wood material for the deity. And so that's how they get the new deity form. Um, and there are some other programs before Ratha Yatra time. There's ritual called Snana Yatra, where Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra they are bathed, and as a ritual goes, after the bathing, Lord Jagannath gets sick, so he's kept unattainable. Nobody can take darshan, but Lord Jagannath is given some special herbal medicine. And for example, in Sri Mayapur, we have a temple of Lord Jagannath uh, in Rajpur. It's a little bit further away from our ISKCON Mayapur temple. So they keep this ritual also that Jagannath is getting sick and they are feeding some herbal medicine. And luckily, I remember I went to that temple during that time, and I was able to get some Lord Jagannath's medicine. So they give it out to the people who happen to be there. Is there any other question, comment, or Jagannath Katha more?
There's one more. Is that do you know the story how the Jagannath Subhadra deities they appeared in Rajpur, Mayapur? Oh,
Yeah, there's a story, but I actually forgot. But uh, there are some other stories about Lord Jagannath in Rajpur. Um, I mean, the story is told there in a diagram form in Rajpur. Uh, that's there, but I think it was donated with by somebody to ISKCON, and before and they were there before even, and then there's the story how somebody carved saw some kind of a vision and carved the deities, but sorry, I can't remember the details. But there was like a when ISKCON got those deities, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra in Rajpur, near to Mayapur, they agreed that they do not start worshipping them yet. They want to wait for some time. Um, and but there was one very eager pujari taking care of them, so he wanted to do some offer some boga for Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra there in Rajpur anyway. So he secretly went there and offered a plate and did the offering and collected Mahaprasadam. But then he noticed that there was something that he couldn't do that all the time. Some obstacle was there. And then he saw a dream the next night that he went to the altar and opened the door. And for his shock, Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, they were no more there. They were not on the altar anymore. So he got very alarmed and started running here and there, seeing where is Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. And at one point, he saw them walking far away in the fields, going somewhere. And he was shouting behind them, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, where are you going? Why are you leaving the temple? And they just replied, we are not getting any food here anymore, so we are going to Mayapur to eat. It's an interesting. Then another story was there, which Pankajani very elaborately or very enthusiastically tell us always that the devotees there in Rajpur Jagannath temple, they were handing out Mahaprasadam of Jagannath to everybody who was around no consideration who was taking. Everybody was able to get prasadam. So they gave one plate of prasadam to one Muslim. So this Muslim was also, of course, a little bit disgusted about it. He did worship that. Okay, I just take a plate, and as a protest, he threw down the plate of prasadam, and then he went away. And next morning, he came back to the temple a little bit terrified, and he was very eager to get Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasadam. And he explained what had happened. Nighttime, he saw a dream. I saw he was pointing out these deities. This white one, he beat me up and threw me on the ground and started jumping on me. And I was screaming in pain. And this black one, he was just laughing and laughing. And this yellow one, he was just, that deity was just shouting, kill him, kill him. And then I understood that I made a big mistake of throwing away that Mahaprasadam plate. So, kind of personal reciprocation is from those deities.
This one is a contemporary story. Yeah, something recently happened.
Uh, well, when since ISKCON had those,
Okay, so it's
yeah,
during ISKCON times.
yeah, during
Okay.
ISKCON
So
time,
that's like recent, quite
yeah,
recent. I
yeah,
would say.
in that way, recent, yeah.
So it's not like 1,000 years ago or something.
No, 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 no. Yeah, it was in ISKCON time.
Wow. That last story.
Hmm?
Last story.
Yes.
All right.
Mm, anything else about Lord Jagannath? So Jagannath means Lord of the Universe. He's offered a lot of boga in Puri temple. Was it 64 offerings per day or 54?
I think it was 54.
54 offerings in
Per
a
day,
day.
yeah.
Yeah. And because the Western devotees they are not able to go inside the temple, then some of those Puri authorities they are very compassionate and bringing Jagannath Mahaprasadam for the devotees. So in this way, we are able to reciprocate. So the rule is that in Puri that you have to be born in a Hindu tradition in order to be able to attend that temple. Even Haridas Thakur, because he was from Muslim background, he was living in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time in the 15th, 16th century. So he was also not able to go inside the temple. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that if you pay obeisances to the chakra, which is on the top of the Jagannath Puri temple, then that is as good as paying obeisances to the deity itself.
I remember reading about the story from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj that he was telling that since he had an African American body, which is so dark, and you have those South India and that part also people are quite dark. So and that he actually disguised himself and he actually went inside the temple. Have you heard that?
Yes, yes, I've heard that, and there are some other devotees also, even from non-Afro-American background, putting some, this shoe color
Oh, really?
all
Really? Wow,
over.
really?
That kind of things have been going on, and then they were entering the temple. But nowadays they have figured this out, and if they for every visitor, maybe every visitor, they come and talk to you. And from your speech, they can recognize whether you are Indian or not. So it's not so
No
much possible.
cheating. No cheating.
Yeah. So mm, better, maybe better to stay away from there. Uh, or, or maybe not, but to be cautious if, if you try to do something like that. But there are so many even Indian people who say that this is very sad that they are not letting uh, non-Hindu people inside. But sometimes there are some we can hear some news that even at least the last thing I heard that even the is it a king or some head of Orissa state or head of mayor of Puri or something like that was suggesting that all the people should be able to enter the Jagannath temple. But anyway, we will get the Lord Jagannath's darshan today in Helsinki. So it's spread all over the world. The mercy of the Lord.
So it's like Jagannath has come, and now it's all over the world. Everybody can see him.
Yes.
So
Yes.
therefore, we're getting his mercy.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not missing out.
Yeah. That's true. We are getting His mercy anyway. There's no no way, anybody can stop Lord giving His mercy to anybody. that's that's there. All right. Lord Jagannath ki jai.
Jai.
Baladev Subhadra ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Gopinath Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.